Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt here with Louis Dismay. Today is Monday, May the 6th, 2019. 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, and Sydney, Australia is at 10 p.m. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today. Your daily dose of happy, and the only thing that's unhappy today is I can't get the live stream going, and I don't know why. I've been testing it. It worked every single time, and now all of a sudden it doesn't work. So Louis, looks like I'm going to have to do a little research and figure out why the live stream that was working so nicely over the last few days isn't working anymore. Oh, no.
You'll sort it, no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure we will eventually. I was hoping we had a new solution worked out here that would resolve issues that we had last week, because last week we had a lot of live streaming issues too. But, oh, well.
Is this all the Facebook issues?
No, actually, we've taken Facebook out of the mix on this one.
I mean, not Facebook, I meant YouTube.
Well, yeah, the problem is with live streaming to YouTube right now. And
right, okay.
I'm just kind of at a loss. I don't know what's causing it. So I have nothing more to say. But we are in the middle of discussing Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach, which we started a few episodes back. And we have gone through the first 4 chapters. And so we now have an idea of who our lead protagonists are and what they think of each other. And I mean, at this point in the book, Louis, I mean, if you can remember what it was like when you first read the book way back when, what was your take on it at this point? What would you think that you were into?
Well, I was just enjoying it so much. It was liberating and freeing my mind, and it just felt so good. So what was I doing? I was just eager to get on to the next chapter.
And let's see. Did you want to do any of the reading? I've been reading.
No,
myself, but
I much prefer you reading.
All right, okay. But we have been introduced to the Messiah's Handbook, otherwise known as the Savior's Manual. Donald Shimoda is a little bit loose on his terminology, which is okay. I think it's part of his charm. We've also gotten to realize that Donald is a fairly advanced soul. He has really learned how to apply the law of attraction. That wasn't called that at the time, but it was all about the law of attraction, what he was doing. And it's fascinating. I mean, you mentioned a few weeks ago before we started doing the book that we should probably try to invite Richard Bach onto the show.
Oh, yeah,
I haven't heard anything back from him. It'd be great if we could have him on. But one of the questions I'd like to ask him is, I'm sure he's aware of law of attraction because most of the planet is, and anybody who has any kind of spiritual alternative kind of approach.
You say most of the planet is. I'm not so sure.
Most of the alternative spiritual planet. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm curious to think, but the question I want to ask him is, so what do you think of the law of attraction? Is that what you were teaching, or were you teaching something else?
Yeah, the question I want to ask him is, was Donald Shimoda a real person for him or not?
Oh, that's another good question. Yeah. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does, because it really feels like it happened to him.
It does. Well, that's a good writer for you. A good writer will make you feel like, like they say in the movie biz, it makes you suspend your disbelief.
Yes.
Yeah, he was good at that. But it's a good question. I mean, well, let's put it this way. Let's say the answer was yes. Yes, it was based on a real person. Then what's your question after that?
Where's Donald Shimoda? Oh, no, he died.
No, that's right. Sorry, that was a spoiler alert there. I just realized that. For those of you who have not...
We're talking about that on the radio, about Game of Thrones spoiler alerts and other spoiler alerts at the moment.
Oh, yes.
The day for spoiler alerts, I hear.
Yeah, there was a big thing with spoilers with the movie that came out over the weekend, Avengers Endgame.
Oh, yeah. I hear it's grossed more than anything.
Yeah, it's been a huge success, but apparently there was some sort of a fracas at a theater that led to one of the employees, I don't remember exactly how it went, but something like the employee was screaming out what's going to happen next in the film. And of course it was spoiling for the people who were watching the movie. And then The police came in and the police interviewed him. The police included in their police report all the spoilers that were in the movie and back.
Law of attraction working beautifully.
Oh, no kidding. So
pushing against something you don't want, and you're just going to get more of it.
That's right. So if you haven't seen that movie, don't read the police report. That's all I can recommend. But anyway, we are in chapter 5 of Illusions, and I guess in the last chapter, that was when Richard got his first exposure to the Messiah's Handbook. So he's kind of digesting that, and his last sentence in the last chapter was, "But I kept the handbook, and he never asked for it back." So this is definitely Richard's handbook from now on. Chapter 5 says, "Farmers in the Midwest need good land for their work to prosper. So do gypsy flyers. They have to be close to their customers. They must find fields a block from town, fields planted in grass or hay or oats or wheat cut grass short. No cows nearby to eat the fabric from their planes." That's an interesting problem when you're a flyer, I guess. "Alongside of the road for cars, a gate and the fence for people, fields lined so that an airplane doesn't have to fly low over any house anywhere. Smooth enough their machines aren't jolted to pieces rolling 50 miles per hour over the ground. Long enough to get in and out safely in the hot, calm days of summer, and permission from the owner to fly there for a day." It's a wonder that anybody used to do that. Today, you probably couldn't get away with it with all the regulations. Anyway, I thought of this as we flew north through Saturday morning. The Messiah and me, the green and gold of the land, pulling softly by, 1,000 feet below. Donald Shimoda's travel air floated noisily off my right wing, bouncing sunlight all directions off its mirror paints. Noisily. That surprises me. I mean, Donald Shimoda, he's the master who can make, insects on the windshield.
He obviously liked the noise.
I guess that's what it was. Yeah. But I mean, personally, not my choice, but whatever. A lovely airplane, I thought, but too big for real hard time barnstorming. It does carry 2 passengers at a time, but it also weighs twice as much as a fleet, and so needs much more field to get off the ground and back on. I owned a Travel Air once, but traded it finally for the fleet, which can get it to tiny fields the size you're a lot more likely to find close to town. I could work a 500-foot field with the fleet where the Travel Air took 1,000, 1,300 feet. You tie yourself to this guy, I thought, and you tie yourself to the limits of his airplane. And sure enough, the moment I thought that, I spotted a neat little cow pasture by the town going past below. It was a standard 1,320-foot farm field cut in half, the other half sold to the town for a baseball diamond. Knowing Shimoda's plane couldn't land there, I kicked my little flying machine up on her left wing, nose up, power to idle, and sank like a safe toward the ballpark. We touched in the grass just beyond the left field fence and rolled to a stop with room to spare. I just wanted to show off a little, show them what a fleet can do properly flown. A burst of throttle swung me around for takeoff again, but then I turned to go, and there was the Travel Air all set up on final approach to land. Tail down, right wing up. It looked like some glorious, graceful condor turning to land on a broom straw. He was quite descriptive. He was low and slow so that the hair on my neck prickled. I was about to see a crash. You see, a Travel Air, you want to hold it at least 60 miles per hour over the fence to land. Slower than that with an airplane that stalls at 50 and you're going to wrap it up in a ball. But what I saw was this golden snow biplane stop in the air instead. Well, I don't mean stop, but it was flying no more than 30 miles an hour. This is an airplane that stalls at 50, mind you. It stopped in the air and it sort of sighed 3-point onto the grass. He used half, maybe 3/4 the space I had used to land the fleet. I just sat in the cockpit and looked while he taxied alongside and shut down. When I turned off my engine, still staring at him dumbly, he called, "Nice field you found. Close enough to town, hey?" Our first customers, 2 boys on a Honda motorcycle, were already turning in to see what was going on. "What do you mean, close to town?" I shouted over the engine noise still in my ears. "Well, it's half a block away." "No, not that. What was that landing? In the Travel Air. How did you land here?" He winked at me. "Magic." "No, Don, really. I saw the way you landed." He could see I was shocked and more than a bit frightened. "Richard, do you want to know the answer to floating wrenches in the air and healing all sickness and turning water into wine and walking on the waves and landing Travel Airs on 100 feet of grass? Do you want to know the answer to all these miracles? I felt as though he had turned a laser on me. I want to know how you landed here. Listen, he called across the gulf between us. This world and everything in it, illusions, Richard. Every bit of it, illusions. Do you understand that? There was no wink, no smile, as though he was suddenly furious with me for not knowing long ago. The motorcycle stopped by the tail of his airplane, and the boys looked eager to fly. Yeah, was all I could think of to say. Roger on the illusions. And then they were on him for a ride, and it was up to me to find the owner of the field before he found us and ask permissions to fly out of his cow pasture. The only way to describe the takeoffs and landings the Travel Air made that day is to tell you that it looked like a fake Travel Air, as if the plane were really an E-2 Cub or a helicopter dressed in a Travel Air costume. Somehow, it was a lot easier for me to accept a 9/16 end wrench floating weightless than to be calm watching that airplane of his lift off the ground with passengers aboard at 30 miles per hour. It's one thing to believe in levitation when you see it. It is another thing entirely to believe in miracles. I kept thinking about what he had said so fiercely. Illusions. Someone had said that before. Oh, when I was a kid, learning magic, magicians say that. They carefully tell us, look, this is not a miracle you are about to see. This is not really magic. What it is an effect. It is the illusion of magic. And then they pull a chandelier from a walnut and change an elephant into a tennis racket. In a burst of insight, I pulled the Messiah's handbook from my pocket and opened it. 2 sentences stood alone on the page. There is no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. You seek problems because you need their gifts. That's a good quote. What do you think of that quote?
Fantastic.
Yeah. It pretty much describes all of life, really, especially as a deliberate creator.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know why, but reading that eased my confusions. I read it over until I knew it with my eyes closed. The name of the town was Troy, and the pasture there promised to be as good to us as the hayfield in Ferris had been. But in Ferris, I had felt a certain calm, and here was a tension in the air that I didn't like at all. The flying, that was a once-in-a-lifetime adventure for our parents, was for me routine, overshadowed by that strange uneasiness. My adventure was this character I was flying with, the impossible way he made his airplane go, and the odd things that he had said to explain it. The people of Troy were no more stunned by the miracle of the Travel Air's flight than I would have been had some town bell rung at noon that hadn't rung for 60 years. They didn't know that it was impossible for what was happening to happen. Thanks for the ride, they said, and is this all you do for a living? Don't you work somewhere? And why'd you pick a little place like Troy? And Jerry, your farm's no bigger than a shoebox. We had a busy afternoon. There were lots of people coming out to fly, and we were going to make a lot of money. Still, part of me began to say, get out, get away from this place. I have ignored that before and always been sorry for it. Interbeing, that's a reference to connecting to your inner being. About 3 o'clock, I had shut down my engine for gas, walked twice back and forth from the Skelly gas station with 2 5-gallon cans of car gas, when it struck me that not once had I seen the Travel Air refuel. Shimoda hadn't put gas in his plane since sometime before Ferris, and I had watched him fly that machine for, 7 hours now, going on 8, without another drop of gas or oil. And though I knew that he was a good man, it wouldn't hurt me, I was frightened again. I mean, if you really stretch it, throttle back to minimum revolutions and mix your dead lean and cruise, you can make a Travel Air run 5 hours at the outside, but not 8 hours of takeoffs and landings. He flew steadily on, ride after ride, while I poured the regular into my center section tank and added a quart of oil to the engine. There was a line of people waiting to fly. It was as if he didn't want to disappoint any of them. I caught him, though, as he helped a man and wife into the front cockpit of his plane. I tried to sound just as calm and casual as I could. Don, how you doing on fuel? Need any gas? I stood at his wingtip with an empty 5-gallon can in my hand. He looked straight into my eyes and he frowned, puzzled, as though I had asked if he needed any air to breathe. No, he said, and I felt like a slow first grader at the back of the classroom. No, Richard, I don't need any gas. It annoyed me. I know a little bit about airplane engines and fuel. Well then, I flared at him, how about some uranium? He laughed and melted me at once. No, thanks. I filled it last year. And then he was in his cockpit and gone with his passengers in that supernatural slow motion takeoff of his. I wished first that the people would go home, and then that we would get out of here fast, people or not. And then I would have the sense to get out of there alone at once. And all I wanted was to take off and find a big empty field far away from any town and just sit and think and write what was happening in my journal, make some sense out of it. I stayed out of the fleet, resting till Shimoda landed again. I walked to his cockpit, there in the propeller blast of the big engine. I've flown about enough, Don. Going to be on my way. Land out from towns and be a little less busy for a while. It's been fun flying with you. See you again sometime, okay? He didn't blink. One more flight and I'll be with you. Guy's been waiting. Oh, all right. The guy was waiting in a battered wheelchair rolled down the block to the field. He was kind of smashed down and twisted into the seat as if by some high gravity force. But he was here because he wanted to go flying. There were other people around, 40 or 50, some in, some out of their cars, watching curiously how Don would get the man from the chair into the airplane. He didn't think about it at all. Do you want to fly? The man in the wheelchair smiled a twisted smile and nodded sideways. Well, let's go, let's do it, Don said quietly, as though he was talking to someone who had waited on the sidelines a long while, whose time had come to get into the game again. If there was anything strange about that moment, looking back on it, it was the intensity with which he spoke. It was casual, yes, but it was a command, too, that expected the man to get up and get into the plane, no excuses. And what happened then, it was as if the man had been acting and finished the last scene of his crippled invalid part. It looked staged. The high gravity broke away from him as though it was never there. He launched off the chair at a half run and mazed at himself toward the traveler. I was standing close and heard him. What did you do? He said. What did you do to me? Are you going to fly or not going to fly? Don said. The price is $3. Pay me before takeoff, please. I'm flying, he said. Shimoda didn't help him into the front cockpit the way he usually helped his passengers. The people in the cars were out of their cars. There was an odd murmur from the watchers and then shocked silence. The man apparently hadn't walked since his truck went off a bridge 11 years before. Like a kid putting on bedsheet wings, he hopped to the cockpit and slid down into the seat, moving his arms a lot as though he had just been given arms to play with. Before anybody could talk, Don pressed the throttle and the travel air rolled up into the air, steep turning around the trees and climbing like fury. Can a moment be happy and at the same time terrifying? There followed a lot of moments like that. It was wonder at what could only be called a miraculous healing to a man who looked like he deserved it. And at the same time, something uncomfortable was going to happen when those two came down again. The crowd was a tight knot waiting, and a tight knot of people is a mob, and that is not good at all. Minutes ticked, eyes bored into that little biplane flying so carefree in the sun, and some violent thing was set to go off. The travel air flew some steep lazy eights, a tight spiral, and then it was floating over the fence like a slow, noisy flying saucer to land. If he had any sense at all, he would let his passenger off at the far side of the field, take off fast, and disappear. There were more people coming, another wheelchair pushed by a lady running. He taxied toward the crowd, spun the plane about to keep the propeller pointing away, and shut down the engine. The people ran to the cockpit. And for a minute, I thought they were going to tear fabric from the fuselage to get at the two. Was it cowardly? I don't know. I walked to my airplane, pumped the throttle and primer, pulled the propeller to start the engine, then I got into the cockpit and turned the fleet into the wind and took off. The last I saw of Donald Shimoda, he was sitting on the rim of his cockpit and the mob had surrounded him. I turned east, then southeast, and after a while, the first big field I found with trees for shade and a stream to drink from, I landed for the night. It was a long way from any town. Okay, now this is not typical deliberate creator stuff. This is not the stuff we normally talk about on LOA Today. This is him being like Jesus and performing miracles on the crowds, that kind of thing.
Well, it's the thing that I think people are starting to realize, that when Abram says you can be and do and have anything you want, you start realizing that it's true.
Scary prospect. Now all of a sudden we're getting into the realm of, saviorhood.
Well, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it as you're starting to create consciously your reality in a more fulfilling way.
Well, I'm just looking at it from the way Richard was looking at it, because he saw what Don Shimoda was doing and he was terrified. He wanted to get out of there as fast as humanly possible.
Well, I think that would be the average reaction for most people seeing that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But my mind is now prepped to expect more things to happen like that, and you can see it in some of the LOA stories that you hear. Some of the guys are just creating, like this one lady who was speaking to Abram and was saying, you know, she's got this job, she's got that job, she's paid to do this, she's contracted to do that. And now Microsoft gaming community has paid her, I'd love to get her on the show, she must be amazing, has paid her to bring her mojo to the gaming community.
Okay.
That's it, because she's so full of energy and light and life and on all the rest of it that they're paying her not for any of her technical skills or anything, but because she's got the mojo. Wow. Those are the words they use. They're paying her a fortune for her mojo.
That's the contract. Okay. All right.
And all the other things that she puts together creates a picture of somebody who is creating a reality that is way beyond most of our wildest dreams, you know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Mojo. I mean, there are a number of different jobs that I've never been offered a job
for your mojo.
That's a different one.
Not by Microsoft either.
Do you know what the going rate is for a mojo artist?
For somebody who's in alignment, I can imagine you pay a fortune. Your business, your company, your everything will just do so well.
I tell you, yeah. Now, here's an interesting thought for you. You mentioned her as somebody who would be amazing to have on the podcast, right? I mean, in a sense, it's kind of like saying it would be amazing to have Donald Shimoda on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And yet, from what Richard's description is, Donald Shimoda just behaved like an average person. So what would you be seeing?
Well, I suppose it's really up to you what you'd be seeing, isn't it?
That's an interesting point.
Your point of attraction, what you're allowing. That's the zoom on this thing is all wrong. I don't know.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, it's a funny thing because when you look at the comparison between Donald Shimoda, and this is the obvious comparison to make. It's the one I know I made when I first read the book. Now, granted, I first read this book about 40 years ago, 44 actually. But when this book first came out and you got to the section of the book, anyone who was reading it, like I won't say everyone, like 98% of the people who were reading this were drawing a direct connection, a direct correlation between Donald Shimoda and Jesus Christ.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know, that was exactly
I must say it didn't trigger that in me, but yeah, I can believe that.
But for most people, and I know that was my reaction, is like that he's portraying a Christ figure here. And when you look at the way Christ is portrayed biblically, he was a relatively calm, quiet person. He was, in that sense, I think that was a deliberate thing maybe it wasn't deliberate, maybe it was subconscious on Richard Bach's part to make the personality very similar to the personality you read about in the New Testament. So
walking on water, yeah, there's many similarities, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of them. So it kind of makes me wonder, is Richard Bach portraying the idea that in order to be a master, you should basically appear like an ordinary human being, just a person who's just doing his stuff?
Well, let's break down what a master actually is.
Okay. So
any good master will be saying to you, you know, you can do what I can do and more. Christ said that. So what a master is somebody who understands the game of life, understands the rules to it, understands the game of life, and has chosen to play a Messiah type figure. And you know, it's it's something I quite enjoy the idea of, is helping people become more aware of the game of life. And I can understand the attraction of that aspect. Now, if I look at my own body and what I've been able to do with it, I've been able to do things and control my body in ways that I've met, from some of the things I can do, I've met nobody who can do them. Nobody in my whole life. So, I kind of think I'm cheating, or I understand in the area of my body and all the rest of it and my health. When you expand that out to money, experiences, jobs, accolades in all different shapes and forms, Mother Teresa type figures, etc., you can take the rules and the laws and you can expand it into your business. You can expand it into whatever you're passionate about, your painting, your art, anything. And you can just take it and move it. So what you're doing is you're non-physical, took on a physical body, and you now learn to access the power of the non-physical in the physical. That's what a master is. Because there was this great book, Daughter of Fire. You probably never heard of it, and I won't recommend you read it.
Okay. It's a non-recommendation recommendation.
It's a thick book like that. It's a diary of a British lady who went to America to sit at the feet of a Sufi master.
I didn't know we had any Sufi masters in America, so that's good to know.
I say America. I meant India.
Oh, okay.
She went from England to India and South India and sat in the sweltering heat. And he said, the only thing I require from you is for you to be in my presence. There is no other requirement.
Okay.
So when you're in the vicinity of somebody who's very aligned, you've got the power that creates world going out, and there's nothing else anybody else needs to do but be in the presence of alignment, so that you create your own alignment. Okay. So it was really interesting because yesterday, Sunday, of course, I thought I'd have a nice quiet day to myself, but the Jehovah's Witnesses decided to knock on my door.
Oh, oh, that's always fun.
And I had the most great conversation with them, taking them off in different directions, talking about that precise point. And it was interesting how it was accepted, because they are doing something that is very, very challenging for most of us to do, to go convince somebody else of your belief.
Right? Oh, yeah.
So I said to them, do you know what a belief is?
Okay, this should be interesting.
I said to them, a belief is just a thought you've thought often. And they're, what? What? Think about it for a second. You believe in Jesus Christ. Isn't it just a thought you've thought often?
How did they respond to that? I'm curious.
You could just see the mind was reeling. I mean, it's a new concept, something
right.
That's been put out to them, and they're not quite sure how to deal with that. I was talking about how I access the power that creates worlds within me, my source energy, which you would call God energy or whatever you would like to call it. So they knew that I was talking about a higher power and all the rest of it. So they were in agreement with lots of aspects of what I was saying. I was just pointing them out from a slightly different angle.
Right.
And, we really had a quite pleasant, really, really nice conversation. And they were lovely people. And I do admire them, because what they're doing is they're getting out of their comfort zone. They're learning to debate. They're learning to really get to the crux of what they believe by having other people oppose different aspects of it. So, it's a little like me going to the sauna and sharing everything that I know there and having everybody argue with me, etc. I'm testing what I know and what I believe and what I understand. And it's a great thing, I mean, I think it's a very worthwhile endeavor, which I think a lot of people struggle to do, but it's very challenging, but I think it's very, very worthwhile. I think you can learn a huge amount from doing that kind of thing, as long as you're open enough to accept all different ideas and look at them and not Bible bash. You know, as soon as you do that, then you've created somebody who's going to say, go away. You know, you just created a big gap that you can't bridge anymore.
And when you say Bible bash, do you mean literally the Bible, or do you mean something?
No, what I mean is, you know, Christ is the only way. You don't do this, you're going to go to hell, blah, 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 blah. That's Bible bashing.
Okay.
That is saying what you believe is wrong. That is what I call Bible bashing.
Okay. All right.
You make yourself right, and when you make yourself right, you make somebody else wrong.
Yeah. It's interesting that you're doing this. Are you in effect becoming an advocate for deliberate creator evangelism?
Every subject's two subjects, so the answer is yes and no. It depends how you.
Okay.
So if you are going out there not to prove you're right, but because, like I do, I thoroughly enjoy sharing these ideas. I don't care if Walt agrees with me. I love it when Walt doesn't agree with me, because when you don't agree with me, we have a discussion and we have something we can pick on.
Right.
Okay. And then we can play it out. But what I said in the sauna to somebody, I said, you know, who wins a debate? Who's the person who ever wins a debate? Is it the person that gets angry and sticks to his point, or is it the person that remains happy and content no matter what happens? Which one wins?
Oh, you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the second one for sure.
Okay. So if I go into the sauna and I ever get upset, I've lost. So I asked the guys, you've seen me here for 3 years now, or 4. Have I ever got upset with anybody's ideas, concepts and things? No, I haven't, because I can accept them. Because I'm just putting out an idea. You like it, you don't like it, I don't care. You love me, you hate me, I don't care. It's your problem. All right. So I go there because I really enjoy watching some people take an idea and go, I hadn't thought about that. That makes sense. I like that. Oh, I've heard of this before. Oh, I've just started, and I hear this so often. I've just started The Secret, and I remember you said to me that there's something beyond that. What's that? I need to know, because I want to go the next step. I want to go the next step.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of those kind of experiences. So now a lot of people say, oh, I can't teach the law of attraction. Nobody will listen to me or understand me. I've heard that a lot in the group. You know? And I look at them and I'm saying, well, that's your belief structure and you're going to get it. Now, my belief structure is not that. I know I'm going to bump into people all over the place that are going to be interested in this. And I've done it for years and years and years. And it just happens. I just landed up with some Jehovah's Witnesses that were quite happy to, you know, to listen to me for ages. So, you know, I appreciate all that. And I know that that's what I'm expecting. I'm not expecting them to be frightened or scared or confused about what I'm saying or contradicting to where they're going. I try to fit it in from where they're going. I try to use words that they use. I try to use language that they would be able to grasp. And even in the sauna, when I'm speaking to one person, I'll speak more religious-based wording. Another person, I'll speak completely differently. And another person, I'll speak on a more sexual level, because that's what they understand. And so I adjust the communication in whatever way will suit the individual that I'm speaking to. So,
well, plus I'm pretty sure that when you're having a conversation like that, you're not taking offense at anything that they're saying. That's probably the thing that stops more people than anything else. Because
but how can I take offense with anything? Because I've got
you can take as much offense as you really want to. You just don't do it, which is a smart thing not to do. But anybody can take offense at anything. That's been proven many times over.
This is something that is so important to grasp if you want to be able to share your beliefs. Is everybody else has where they are, no matter how old, where they are, because they are in that moment in time that you're speaking to them. They are at the pinnacle, at the highest understanding of what they believe the world and life to be is.
Right.
And you have to respect that. They've had all these experiences that they've had, and they've come to those conclusions. And I'm quite happy to appreciate whatever conclusion they've come up to. I just give them another idea, maybe that they haven't heard before, and then I let them go. You know, you either take it, you leave it, whatever. You know, I talked about that story of the Christian on the beachfront in South Africa. I was walking with a buddy of mine, and this Bible basher came up to me. So in South Africa, most white South Africans are waning Christians or strong Christians. There's really nothing else.
Okay.
So this group was going out, this Christian group was going out to catch the waning Christians and bring them into the reborn Christian group that they were in. So I got stopped by this guy, and he said to me, tell me, are you a Christian? I said, no. He said, so Jesus Christ is not your Lord and Savior? I said, no. So he said to me, oh, so you sure Jesus Christ is not your Savior? I said, definitely not. I'd say he was a great prophet. No problem there. They said to me, well, you know you're going to hell, don't you? I said, yeah, I love that place. It's quite hot. I hear it's hot. So the guy just stands there in absolutely confusion all over his face, and the leader goes and taps on his shoulder, and he says, leave that guy alone.
He's one of those types.
I don't think he had come across anybody like me at all. I think it was completely new to him. And I don't bring that up for any other reason than to show the confidence you can have in your own belief, you know, because
that's it.
Most white South Africans would be, oh, you know, I should maybe, you know, whatever. But to me, I was so far removed from Christianity at that stage, it had no hold on me whatsoever.
I think you touched on the word there.
It took many years to get rid of that hold. It had a lot of a hold on me.
Oh, good grief, yeah. I mean, their tentacles are everywhere, really.
It's not really their tentacles. The tentacles I gave to myself.
Well, the ones you accepted, yeah. That's the thing, is learning.
And then that realization allows you to break them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes, yeah. But you touched on the right word, confidence, because for those, I made reference to people who take offense at, you know, they go out there, they try to teach law of attraction, and they get stuff back that says, oh, no, I don't believe in that stuff, and they take offense at that. and the reason they're taking offense, I believe, is because of a lack of confidence in themselves, lack of confidence in their ideas, and so they're looking for validation outside of themselves.
So what they're doing in that process is they're still learning, they're still growing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Growing in that subject. Okay, we're all growing in some subject. You never stop growing. So they're in whenever you get hit like that, when you have that, you know, I don't feel good about this, I can't deal with the situation. It is a great learning curve. You're just at that point where you can shoot the rocket of desire from, oh, I don't want to get this anymore. What do I want to get? Wouldn't it be nicer? I was more confident and understood my subject would better, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And you get there, you know, you get there.
Eventually, yeah.
I don't think I've ever come across anybody who can argue me under a table or do anything like that. I mean, it's not a possibility, because I don't grab it and don't hold on to it, and I don't fight a point of view. Right. So there's nothing for anybody to do to me. It'll, you know, you can throw any arrow you want. It's going to go straight through me. I'm going to take it personally. Why? I've got better things to do in my life. But I'm very clear about what I believe. And when you consistently give people the same message again and again, year after year, month after month, in the sauna, etc., or wherever you are in life with anybody, they start picking up the clarity that you have with it, and they start either agreeing with it or just leaving you alone altogether. Yeah. So it really doesn't matter. It works out beautifully. But just to go to here, you asked me, there's no such thing as a problem without a gift for you in its hands. Now, in Abraham Hicks speak, that is, when you know what you don't want, you have a better idea what you do want.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just put in a very nice way. I love the words. There is no such thing as a problem without a gift in its hands.
Yeah. Richard is definitely a wordsmith. He's one of those rare novelists, rare authors of any kind, that know how to write descriptively and beautifully. That's the real art. That's a fabulous
he definitely has that. You seek problems because you need their gifts. So the Jehovah's Witnesses, they gave me a little pamphlet and said, here, please read this. Here's a gift for you. I said, I've got a gift for you. And I said, do you know, I want to share with you the importance of negativity. I said, why do you think negativity is so important? Because they were saying to me, what do you think of all the suffering in the world? I said, my answer to you is, what is the importance of negativity? And the lady said, well, you know, when you know the bad things that you don't like, you start getting, you know, to look what you do like. And I said,
Oh, very good.
and I was like, this is brilliant, you know, but I'm not quite sure she fully grasped that I was talking about all the grief and suffering in the world was that precise reason. And that's the beauty of it. But, you know, it was a beginning, so something for them to think about and take home.
Yeah.
So, you know, they gave me a gift. I gave them a gift, and it was lovely.
There are many ways that we can individually decide to deal with stuff like this. You actively like to go out and engage in conversations of this kind. I do it in
it's not like I actively go out and engage, Walt. I've got such an active vibration that it automatically happens.
Is there a difference?
Like I'm looking for it. There's no effort involved, you know.
I see what you mean.
On my door, I just bump into people that are just ready for it in the sauna or when I'm on school or you know, whatever.
I understand that.
I really don't have to do anything.
Right. Yeah. In that sense, that's I think where my question was earlier. Really it wasn't really that's where the question about evangelizing came from, because evangelizing really is going out and asking like that, and you're right. What you're doing isn't really that. The way I go about handling this whole thing is a little bit different in that I do all of mine on a podcast with people who I already know are like-minded. I don't I don't tend to attract in people who are looking for, you know, some sort of a contrast or whatever. I'm not really 100% sure why, other than that's just what I attract. I don't know, but it's certainly more in line with what I prefer. So I think that's probably what it is right there. I definitely enjoy talking to the like-minded people a lot. Yeah. And I think that kind of ties into one of the things that I tend to say to somebody who is expressing their frustration that, well, you know, they're not taking me seriously or they're not listening. How do you get people to listen and so forth? My usual response is, well, stop trying. Just, you know, don't go there. You know, all you're doing is making life miserable for yourself. Now, if you can enjoy it, well, that's a good thing.
Got that clarity. You really get that. You really understand that. But you really have to break it down to them. Why must they stop doing it? You know.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I do. I tell them that when you stop doing that, when you stop trying to put it out there and make people, you know, change because you're trying to make them change, when you let go of all that, a couple things happen. One thing that happens is if you continue to like what you like, and other people like you, they're going to tend to like what you like. I mean, that's just that's the law of attraction. That's putting that energy out there and the energy having its influence. So it's like you said, you don't have to work it. You don't have to, you know, okay, I am going to convert the world to the law of attraction. No, you don't have to do that at all. What a waste of time.
Can't think of anything worse.
Well, I could probably think of a few things, but nevertheless. That would not be, let's put it this way, it would not be in my top 10. That's a fair way of saying it. You know, that's not one of my top 10 things to choose to do in my life. So, yeah. So let's see, where are we at? We have, I'm not sure if we have enough time to do chapter 6. How long is chapter 6? Yeah, chapter 6 is fairly long.
We can go through other aspects of this. So what about healing?
Boy, well, we could do a show on that.
Miraculous healing?
When is miraculous healing different from healing is the question I ask.
It's when you are more surprised.
I guess.
Abram says the reason why I never laugh at any of your jokes is because I'm never surprised.
Yeah, there's that.
I don't find things funny because you can't surprise me. Surprise comes when, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, or, you know, that's funny, or that's weird, or, you know, but when you know everything, there's not that much of a surprise around the corner.
It's a funny thing because I think one of the reasons we're here on Earth is we like the surprise. I think we enjoy surprise. And I don't know. I find that a lot of the things that happen are surprising. I find that healing is surprising of any kind, whether you call it miraculous or otherwise. I mean, you cut yourself, and forget about law of attraction, forget about being a believer creator. You just cut yourself and it bleeds, and it stops, and it forms a scab, and then over time, that scab starts to disappear. I'm sorry, but that's just plain miraculous. That's fabulous. That's an incredible thing.
Shall I tell you how to speed it up, Walt?
Well, I'm not going to imagine how to speed it up. I'm just staying here with, isn't that so cool? Our bodies heal ourselves.
Yeah.
That is just really, that I think that's worthy of appreciation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the more things you can find to appreciate, you're just flying, It's just working so much better for you, so much better.
I mentioned last week that, I don't know why I'm even connecting this, but for some reason it's coming in here. I mentioned last week that I'm messing around with the pendulum because Bill G's been doing that, and I've been playing with that a little bit. And I created, I don't know if I told you, I created a chart, a pendulum chart. It's the Abraham Hicks scale. So, deep depression all the way over to joy and happiness and so forth. And so I was using the pendulum, and I was saying, okay, where am I on the chart? Not like I know where I am. Just tell me, pendulum, where I am on the chart. It was pointing over to the far right to the highest number 1 level on the chart, which was true. That's pretty much what I was feeling.
At the moment, yeah.
Yeah, at that particular moment. And I was also, in my mind, I was saying to myself, okay, here's, we have the center point of the chart. So that's like, that's the point where you hang the pendulum, it's just hanging straight down. That's that center point. And anything that is swung close to that, a small arc like that I decided that meant a low level of intensity. And that the more that it swung out, the higher the intensity was. So I asked, okay, how high is my intensity here? Mm-hmm. And this is really fun. I mean, I'm holding the pendulum, and the pendulum starts slowly and starts moving its way out further and further and further and further until it was doing the entire arc. I said, damn, this is great. I love this. I had never seen anything like that before. But it was kind of like a reminder to myself that when we're dealing with things like healing, when we're dealing with miracle, when we're dealing with these concepts, it really all comes down to the same two-ended stick that Abraham talks about. It comes down to the letting go of the oars analogy, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
It's how excited are you going to get by it, or how scared are you going to get by it? How much are you going to accept it, or how much are you going to reject it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
it on the head there.
So it doesn't really matter whether or not somebody listens to the ideas. If they like the ideas, that's cool. That's a conversation. If they don't like the ideas, okay, well, that could be cool too, depending on how you decide to handle the information that's coming into you. It's up to you. On the other hand, you can get scared about it. You can get frightened about it. You can get pissed off about it. There are a lot of different possible options here. And what's really fascinating is all the different ways that people choose the different options. That there's a miracle for me. Talk about the miracle of healing. Here's another miracle. You can put out a concept like deliberate creation and get 500 million different responses to it, which is crazy. That's pretty wild.
There's 7.8 plus all the animals, billion worlds out there, Walt. So, you're going to get different results from different worlds.
But that's cool, though. That's what I'm saying. When I call it crazy, that's what I mean. It's cool. It's fun. That's like, wow.
Isn't it fabulous? Fun, Walt, that my world at the moment is buzzing around yours? We're actually hitting each other now and again. There's a little bit. A little bit of touching there. And the two worlds.
It is cool. It's fun.
It's very brief. It's very brief. People think that the interaction with other people is huge, and it's not. It's very brief.
Yeah, it is.
I'm thinking what I'm going to say, what you're going to say now, rather than what you're saying.
This is true. and we like to think, that we're spending quite a bit of time here, but it's an hour, an hour out of a day, a 24-hour day. That's 168 hours in a week. So 1 out of 168, that's just in 1 week. All of a sudden it's getting really, really small. After a month, okay, now we're down to really, really, really small. So,
and you're going to live till 300, so
yeah, there you go. That's just in this physical body. Beyond that, it's eternal. So now it gets really, really, really small.
There are masters out there that are purportedly 5,000 plus years old. In the physical, still having physical bodies. Of course, you can't go meet them or anything like that because they'll only be met if they want to be. If you're a vibrational match, you'll get there. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's...
I guess strange questions going through my head. Like, do they take showers every day? How many showers is that?
Well, they say, Walt, that they're called God eaters, so they eat source energy, so they don't.
They eat source, so okay, so
They can eat if they want to, but
yeah. But my question is still a valid question, because I take a shower more because I enjoy it than because I need to clean up.
well, that will be their answer too. If they enjoy it, they'll be finding more of them, and if they don't, they won't. It'll be based on that same principle, want and not want.
Now the other question too is, if you successfully have lived 5,000 years, because I mean the only way you're going to do that is by cleaning up your thoughts and keeping your thoughts exactly on what you want to do. Yeah. So
that is the Alexa. Yeah.
Right. So if you're able to pull that off, you're probably vibrating pretty darn high. I mean, we're talking.
Yeah, you're pretty much vibrating source energy.
Yeah. So essentially, you are a being of light in every way. I mean, you're blinding. You know, people who don't know you say, "Whoa, turn it down."
Which is why you won't bump into them unless you're a vibrational match, unless you're on that high. You know, you can want all you want, but unless you're at that vibration, you're not going to bump into them.
But it raises an interesting question.
The power that they bring into the physical universe is, they're bringing the source energy to help maintain the physical universe. So, yeah.
Well, okay. I think you're starting to touch on the answer to the question that I was raising. When I often wonder why we come here and what we're choosing to do here and why we're doing it. And I explore that a lot of different ways. That's part of what we talk about on the show. And then I ask myself, okay, what happens as I raise my vibration over time? At what point do I decide I'm done here? And if you carry that out to an extreme, that's where these 5,000-year-old beings are. They're people who have really carried that out to the extreme. They want to still be here, but they only want to be here in a very, very high vibration space, in the source energy space. And you start to say, in order to kind of, how'd you say, hold the universe together? I don't remember exactly what you said.
Well, you're pulling in source energy, which is the power that creates worlds, to help sustain the physical universe. Yeah.
And so that's where that's like a nice logical reason. But for me, since all of source and all of existence in the universe is all emotionally based, I'm curious about the emotions that go along with that. So I'm wondering, what are they feeling? What's their emotional? I mean, their emotional state has to be high. But what about it is driving them? What is saying, I really want to stay here and just keep feeding source energy to the universe? I wonder why. I wonder what it is that's doing that for them.
Why did we choose to come into this life?
I'm still stuck on that one myself.
same kind of thing. We choose to come play with the contrast. So. Play with the contrast, One of the best things Ramdas said to me, which I loved, I was like rolling on the floor with this. He said, you can get spooks, non-physical entities, for 10 to a penny, So he said, one of the best things one spook ever said to me. I love Ramdas. He said, the guy said to me, Ramdas, you're in school, take the curriculum. You're in the contrasting universe, play with the clay of the contrasting universe, carpe diem, just like seize the day, play with it.
Well, that points to another interesting question, because like you said, what he described as a spook, I've heard many people say, there are lots and lots and lots of them. Bill G spends a lot of time with his pendulum clearing them off of himself and off of his clients. I mean, that's how many of them he says are out there. There can be thousands of them on a particular time showing up and attaching to you, he says. So the question in my mind is...
First, you've got to convince people that they're there, and then you can charge them to remove them. I like the idea.
It's quite a racket, really, isn't it? But here's the question. Here's the question I'm leading up to. Why does a spook choose to be a spook? What's in it for them? What's their emotional benefit?
Well, first of all, there is no such thing outside your reality than you let into it. So for you to perceive a spook, you have to be a vibrational match to seeing spooks or aliens or whatever.
True.
Okay. Or if somebody didn't believe in them and thought they were absolute rubbish standing next to you, and you completely believed in them, you would see them and the other guy wouldn't. Reality wouldn't be able to vibrationally see it. Yours would. So these guys are bringing their spooks, you know, they have to play with the vibration that they're bringing in. So, you know, you have to deal with spooks.
But my question is, if you're the spook, why do you want to be the spook? Where's the emotional benefit there? That's what I'm asking.
Well, you create your own reality, so you create the spook. The spook doesn't. I create Walt. So Walt is a vibrational match to me, to a degree. So you create some non-physical entity who is a vibrational match to what you believe and think. So it's just a symbiosis of two vibrations coming together that are a match.
Yeah,
it's really that simple.
Yeah, you're explaining how both of us can exist and have our own separate worlds at the same time. I'm trying to explore what's motivating the spook. So I'm kind of in a different perspective.
Well,
I like to understand what motivates Louis. I like to understand what motivates my other co-hosts. I like to understand what motivates my
what motivates. When you die, you're a spook, Walt. And somebody can decide to make you a vibrational match to them, and they will start seeing you. So who you are and what you are and what you want is just a vibrational match. Like some people are a vibrational match to Jerry, and they're speaking to Jerry all the time. Esther's partner. Yeah. So and it's just because they make themselves a vibrational match. It's fine. You know, we can make ourselves a match too.
Oh, I know that. Sure.
So what makes them a spook is they don't have a physical body anymore, or they could have a physical body, but you're speaking to the non-physical part of whoever has now taken on another physical body. So you're now looking to the Jerry energy of a previous life, as opposed to the lifetime that Jerry's now living with a new body. You know. It just is what it is. It's not very complicated. It's just an entity that you're a vibrational match to.
I guess ultimately what I'm leaning toward, maybe this is like a bias on my part, but the way that we've been describing this thing that Ram Dass called a spook is somebody who tends to focus on a lot of negative energy and tends to live in a low vibration state.
Oh, okay. So let me define what Ram Dass meant as a spook. He was talking about people channeling non-physical energy, people speaking
just in general. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
Because the kind of thing that Bill G talks about is he's talking about removing low vibration stuff from your orbit.
Which all you need to do is to change your thinking onto subjects of happiness, which will take you out of the vibration of it, which he doesn't have to do anything. He just needs to teach you that's what you need to do to protect yourself.
This is true, but nevertheless, he chooses to think of it in terms of using a pendulum and asking higher stuff to clear itself.
I mean, we can use any tools we want to play the game. And all of them are right. None of them are wrong. Yeah.
So getting to the answers that I bring up to my own question, because my own question is, I wonder what's motivating that person, that being, that spirit, that spook, whatever you want to call it, is there is something about living in that low vibration that they enjoy. There's something that they get out of it. There's something that for whatever reason they figure, okay, this is the kind of contrast I want to play in. And they may believe on some level that they're trapped there. They may believe that this is they can't escape it in some way, but that's also part of what they're doing. That's part of what they're choosing.
I think Abram paints a very, 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 very different picture of death than we have been taught. The one you're talking about now, the thought process you're talking about now, is the one that's been taught to mankind for centuries, which is people get trapped and they think they need to still wander around the physical universe and blah, which is, Abram says when you die, you go into pure positive energy and you go into your vortex, which is everything you ever wanted.
That's right. That's the interesting.
And all that other stuff's gone.
Yeah.
You could have vibrational remnants around the place which people bump into, but you, source energy, are now the pure positive energy.
And that's the interesting point right there. Yeah. Because as I've talked with Bill and with Linda Armstrong and with others, they do tend to believe that there is a category of being that prefers to be a low vibration being, And yet I'm aware of what you just pointed out, that Abraham says, oh, once you die, once you lose the physical body, all that just kind of disappears and you just become high vibrational, which is a contrast. I mean, it's like two different viewpoints of what goes on there. And it's an interesting contrast.
No. I would say what they were talking about are the vibrational remnants of that individual of what they didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So you
so
can
like
make
an
it
echo.
all work. Yeah, it's like an echo. You can bump into my negative thoughts if you're a vibrational match.
Well, I want to take that thought one step further, because I think you're right. I would even go on to say that it's my own thoughts that are creating that echo.
Of course.
Yeah, it's actually not somebody else's echo. It's my own creation.
So if somebody came to me and said, all these ghosts are bothering me all the time, I wouldn't try and clear away the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Not from my understanding now. In the past, maybe I would have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Logical sense, you want to get rid of something you don't want, but the law of attraction says all you're going to do is get more.
Mm-hmm.
So teach the guy that you create your own reality, teach them to the emotional scale, teach them how being on the high vibration is going to protect you completely from any of these things always, as long as you can keep that vibrational high. Mm-hmm. And when you keep that vibrational high, you're starting to teach them how to focus on creating new reality for themselves. And then they start bringing it into their own vibration and they start living it. So that's what I love about the law of attraction. I often use the word force field for it, because the law of attraction is a force. It is the best, most incredible force field you can ever have, because when you're on a high vibration, none of that negative stuff can touch you. Can't. When you're in the vicinity of a problem, you can't be anywhere near the vicinity of the solution, because they're two different vibrations.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
So you can either try get rid of things for people and maybe even charge them for it, or you can teach them, how to empower themselves, how to create their own reality, how to be their own completely, I've told you this one story that I was attacked. I woke up one morning and I was completely frozen. This was many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So I was completely frozen in my bed. I was wide awake and I couldn't move a muscle. I tried with every ounce of my strength, and I was kung fu guy. I was very strong, and and I couldn't move a muscle. There was this black force on my chest sitting there, pinning me down completely. So then I just said, and I'll use Abram's words, I took source energy and I said, just let it flow through me. And the source energy just blew this thing away. Blew it away. And I was more scared of the source energy. Again, there were two different vibrations. The thick, dense vibration I couldn't handle. It froze me. And the other vibration, which is far higher than I usually experience, was washing through me. Again, I was feeling uncomfortable with that. So I got a bit scared of that too. So you realize that when you're out of vibration of where you normally are, it can affect you quite strongly both ways. If I built myself up to that high vibration of having source energy flow through me all the time, then I wouldn't have noticed it. It would be a non-entity. It would be the next logical step, as Abram would say, instead of the quantum leaps, which everybody wants to do, which they're not ready for, and then they land up in loony bins. So, just understanding that you go to the next logical step, and you grow and you become more confident and you go out and you achieve the things you want to. And it's just so much fun going step by step along the way and understanding it and being clear about and understanding the rules to the game of life and understanding how to fit all the pieces together. It's just incredible. It's beautiful.
That's a very good place to stop. But this has been a great discussion of Chapter 5 of Illusions by Richard Bach. We'll take on Chapter 6 next week. But in the meantime, thank you, Louis, for sharing your insights, and look forward to carrying it on with you next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Loving the Richard Bach book.
Thank you also to our podcast listeners as well. Live stream listeners, I promise I'm going to get this live stream issue fixed somehow. I'm just putting it out there and letting universe source energy deliver the solution, and I'll still testing along the way. But we will get it fixed. And in the meantime, we'll just say thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.